The Idris-class frigate is one of the largest player-owned warships in Star Citizen and the biggest currently available to spawn in-game. Designed to be run by a large crew, the Idris is incredibly powerful and kitted out with all kinds of features. But how does the Idris perform in-game? I'm Forrester, and this video will review the currently flyable Aegis Idris P, which is described on the Star Citizen website as a frigate, or in Star Citizen terms, a capital ship. This review does not cover the Idris M, which is a different variant. If you've seen other ship reviews on this channel, the format is slightly changed owing to the pure size of the ship, with a full ship tour split off into a second video. This review is therefore split into 5 sections, starting with a brief deck layout, assessing combat performance, reviewing handling and visibility, looking at the operating costs and profitability, before finally summarising. As always, I've included timestamps in the video description in case you want to skip ahead. And if you're one of the many people watching who isn't yet subscribed to the channel, you might consider that so that you can be notified of future Star Citizen videos as they go live. And this review of the Idris P is based on performance in Star Citizen Alpha 4.1 as its base configuration, i.e. without the K or T upgrade kits. Because the ship is so large, the full tour of the Idris P is available on a previously published video and linked above. Broadly speaking, there are 3 decks aboard with 3 subdecks. The lowest deck is the long hangar, incorporating space for fighters to land, as well as various cargo grids to the sides. Below the hangar deck is a subdeck with the MPUV hangar and gravity room. Between the hangar deck and the main deck are subdecks with the fighter control and pilot ready rooms. Then, the main deck of the Idris contains most of the features of the ship, such as the additional cargo rooms, habitation, medical, brig, engine room, briefing room and armoury. Between the main deck and the bridge is a subdeck where the bridge arms connect to the ship with access to manned turrets. And finally, the top deck is the bridge, held high up above the ship. The Idris P is a heavily armed frigate. There are 8 manned turrets aboard, the largest of which is equipped with 2 size 5 weapons, by default M7A laser cannons. If possible to source a set, this turret could potentially be upgunned to dual size 7 weapons. The turret sits just above the nose at the front of the ship. The remainder of the manned turrets are sighted 4 on the bridge struts, 2 front and 2 rear, sighted port and starboard of the ship. There are 2 further turrets beneath the ship, flanking port and starboard side of the MPUV hangar, and finally a turret at the rear by the entrance to the hangar beneath the overhang. All of these manned turrets are all armed with 2 size 5 weapons, defaulting to Galderine laser repeaters. The Idris P further carries 4 remote turrets, accessed from the back of the bridge, each armed with dual size 4 weapons, defaulting to Revenant ballistic repeaters. 2 of these remote turrets are located on the side of the front of the Idris, and the other 2 at the rear underneath the ship. There's also a hardpoint for a main weapon, a size 10, which could be equipped with the railgun from the Idris M, the laser beam from the Idris K upgrade kit, or a torpedo launcher from the Idris T upgrade kit. These are all sold separately and not currently available for purchase with Alpha UEC at time of recording. These upgrades are a challenge to acquire in-game, but add considerably to the combat performance of the Idris, especially against larger targets. The Idris P also carries 6 point defense cannons, or PDCs, located around the ship, with empty hardpoints for another 5 if possible to source them. Defensively, the Idris P is equipped with 2 capital-sized shield generators, which do a great job of protecting the ship. It's also possible to augment the combat performance of the frigate by filling the flight deck with player pilots and fighters or bombers. Altogether, the Idris P is a combat powerhouse, somewhat unsurprisingly. A solo player can do some damage if able to equip a nose weapon and supported by the PDCs, but this is a ship that shines when it's properly crewed. It's a little slow in the furball, but that means that all of the turrets become useful, and with a proper crew there are very few blind spots. There really isn't any space combat mission that the Idris P can't complete, assuming it has a proper crew on board. If things do go wrong, the reclaim timer is considerable at 3 hours and 19 minutes. Even expedited, this is still above 50 minutes and expensive to do, so it's a ship you want to try to keep alive. The pilot aboard the Idris is sat right at the front of the bridge atop the ship. That means that the view is from just behind amidships, but panoramic all around. Visibility is therefore generally good, but sometimes in dark environments there can be glare from the windshield at the front, which reflects the holomap, and that can be a little distracting. The Idris benefits from the capital ship path marker, which gives a visual indication of the expected flight path, and whilst the pilot is sat slightly to the left rather than fully centrally, the Idris is so big as to make that inconsequential. With an SCM speed limiter at 110 meters per second, the Idris isn't fast, but it's not as slow as you might expect in a straight line. That's not true, however, for pitch, yaw and roll, where the Idris takes a long time to turn. It can also take a long time to leave atmosphere, especially when somewhere like Orison. That feels absolutely appropriate for a ship of this size. It's supposed to feel like a lumbering warship armed to the teeth, and it does. Handling when planetside is surprisingly good in that context, albeit that may be subject to change when more detailed atmospheric flight models come along. It's worth adding that the version of the Idris P currently flyable in Alpha 4.1 does not include the rotating VTOL engine blocks that future models might. When kicking into nav modes, the Idris P top speed increases to 850 meters per second. This is slow compared to almost every other ship in game, but again, this is a frigate, not a fast patrol ship. If one accepts that chases will be facilitated by the air wing aboard rather than the mothership, it probably also makes sense. In terms of quantum range, the Idris P can fly pretty much wherever it wants without worrying about refuel for a long time. The quantum drive is surprisingly fast, although longer trips can have a fairly long cooldown on the other end. The Idris P can be expensive to run if needing to repair or refuel. That could be into the hundreds of thousands of Alpha UEC, but thankfully both are a rare occurrence, so as things stand right now, actual costs are fairly low. Restocking costs can add up quickly if the remote ballistic turrets are used or torpedoes are equipped with the upgrade package. In terms of making money, the natural choice for the Idris is combat missions. For ship combat, the Idris P can complete pretty much anything in game, albeit any rewards would be shared amongst the crew. With 1,374 SCU of grid storage, plus the facility to store more cargo off-grid, it's also a versatile platform for running various money-making schemes like looting other ships or using the onboard hangar to fly miners or salvagers to valuable loot and bring that storage aboard for safekeeping. Hauling contracts can be more of a challenge despite the capacity aboard, mostly because loading and unloading the cargo to and from a space station is difficult, but most people probably don't buy an Idris for cargo hauling. It's worth adding that the cargo grid storage makes moving 32 SCU crates difficult, because the main body of storage aboard isn't wide enough to accept them, making 16 SCU crates the largest to load up on the grid. That said, there's plenty of physical space in the hangar for 32 SCU crates if you're the type of person who is happy to go off-grid. By way of upgrades, the obvious choice is to fit a weapon to the nose mount, upgun the front turret to size 7 weapons, and fill out the empty PDC slots. The challenge will be sourcing these in-game, but enterprising players may find a way. Most of the other components are currently hardwired into the ship. The strength of the Idris is in its combat performance and its flexibility and versatility. You get top-of-the-range fighting prowess, and with it plenty of hangar space to load up a variety of combat or non-combat ships, plus useful features on board such as the medical bay. Crewing up in Star Citizen can sometimes be challenging, but there is so much hangar space aboard the Idris, with the main hangar deck and the MPUV snub bay below. Often players in your group can just fly to it and hop aboard, no matter what stage of your operation you're at. On the topic of crew, this ship could easily run with a crew count of 15 to 20 players. Add 8 manned turrets to the pilot seat and 4 remote turrets, and perhaps 3 fighters in the hangar takes a crew to 16 players, with the potential for engineer or support type roles in the future to easily push that up to 20. To this reviewer, that's the appeal of this ship. It's a platform for multi-crew gameplay, and very fun no matter which seat you're in. It's probably not a ship that would leave the hangar every day, but when it does, it's awesome. It's not uncommon to also see these ships operated by a solo player. With the PDCs and a front armament, it can kind of work, but it's probably not the best way to run the ship in a combat scenario. Given that the Polaris can't operate the main armament with a single player, the Idris currently can, one of those situations may need to change in future. Where the ship can work better with a solo player or small group is as a mobile base, parked away from the heat of the action. The hangar bay makes it easy to leave the ship and go out and salvage or mine or loot things, and then head back to the ship to store it safely before doing the next mission. That's made easier in patch 4.1 by the ability to travel back to your mothership in the same session, and further supported by the medical bay on the Idris if things go wrong. That said, it's a very expensive choice for doing that. There are some downsides, however. The size of the ship requires either an extra large hangar or docking ports in order to store the ship. Docking ports have the usual security concerns and make it difficult to load or unload cargo. Those in the know will be aware of the vulnerability at the back of the bridge, where removing the relay fuses quickly disables the ship. And it's surprising that there's no battle bridge or CIC aboard tucked away somewhere in the body of the ship. Ultimately, the bridge is in quite an exposed position, and even the 890 jump, which is not a warship, includes a battle bridge below decks for when things go wrong. That said, the Idris is absolutely unparalleled in-game for multi-crew combat performance. Whilst the P model is not quite at the same level as the Idris M, it's been more accessible to players to pick up. More accessible is said carefully, because plenty of players have also had suboptimal sales experiences and missed out so far. Which brings us to price. With a launch price of $1,250, potentially increasing to $1,900 depending on when the purchase was made, this is a very expensive ship. That's almost small car money for a virtual spaceship. For a single player, that doesn't make sense to me, but seen through the lens of this being a 20-person ship, $100 each arguably feels more reasonable. There's no in-game price at time of recording, and given the powerful nature of this ship, it's possible that the in-game route to requiring one might lie elsewhere than simply spending credits, for example, through Wicklow favours or similar. This ship is a lot of fun to fly. It encourages group play, which is to be celebrated, and being aboard feels like being aboard a big warship. It has me personally very excited for the future of multi-crew, as well as using this ship to complete various events. Xenothreat with the Idris? Yes please. The hugely expensive Idris class frigate is top of the tree in-game, unsurprisingly dominating the combat scene against NPC targets, at least until the Javelin comes on, but that's excitement for another day. But I shall say no more, and look forward to reading your thoughts on the Idris in the video comments. If you enjoyed this video, you might press the like button to help me understand what videos to make more of in future, and if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, you might like to do that too, so that YouTube knows to show you more videos like this in future. But otherwise, and as always, thank you for watching.